Everybody unmute yourself.
Don't tell me what to do. You're not my real dad.
I just did.
Okay.
What's up, boys?
Casey, I just
And
seen
girls.
the message. I just seen the message.
All right, what's going on, good people? Big discussion coming at you right here on the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, an instant classic.
Always?
Always, sometimes, and all the time.
Yes.
You know.
So, like 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's too much. That's too much. Maybe like 40. Like 40. Bodie.
Beautiful.
But we're gonna talk about the releases. We're gonna talk about our thoughts on kind of Jim Cornette's whole response to WrestleMania 37 main event and all that good jazz. And Casey, did you get a chance to watch that?
I think I heard through Adam pretty much the gist of it. I don't know what the fuck he's doing right now.
Wait, I heard it.
And then we may mention, because we've kind of just been discussing it in a way, the little docuseries they're doing with on A&E. We may talk a little bit about that just for kicks and giggles if it comes up. It probably won't be like a big thing or anything, but just something we'll mention if it does come up. But nonetheless, first off, if we do a weekly show at any point in time, this is what it'll look like. We'll talk about a bunch of different topics at the same time, just for kicks and giggles. It may not ever happen, but if it does, bing bang boom, this is what you're gonna be looking at. But anyway.
It's happened like 7 times.
What's
and then
up, everybody? What's going on with all y'all?
Maybe this will help us get more viewers. Okay. Hi, everybody. So
you couldn't turn Casey's off? I that's what I was hoping. I was hoping that you were just gonna turn Casey's off, and that was
no.
It's all first world problem. But anyway, let's start with the releases. I suppose. By the way, if you're just joining us for the first time, you're like, who the heck are these people? DJ here, Adam's down there. Justin is hidden, and Casey is over there in the bottom right corner. But nonetheless, we got a comment already. Hold up. Justin, can you pull that up?
Comment already? Oh my Lord!
I'm not off work for another 20 minutes. I can't watch until I'm at post. Well, I guarantee it. We still will be on.
We will.
But getting to the releases, because I can't for the life of me remember all of them. I have a list of them. Hold up, let me find it. Where's my list?
It's not, and really compared to last year and times past, to be perfect, it's really not that much. But I think there's more noticeable names that where you either were like, okay, but maybe 2 in particular that was like.
Well, I think I heard that there's supposed to be more too.
Yeah,
I heard there's supposed to be some coming from like NXT or something like that.
Yeah. The main one I think for all of us, well, Mickey James was a little big one too, but I think the main one that caught us all a little bit by surprise was Samoa Joe. I'll read the list off real quick so you guys know in case we are your one-stop shop for wrestling news, which if we are, then you are in a little bit late, just saying. But anyway,
Meltzer, Alvarez, Wade Keller. I'm Clint from Hershey, and I have my own personal website.
So we got Wesley Blake, Kalisto, Mojo Rawley, Tucker, Billy Kay. If I miss any, let me know. Chelsea Green, Bo Dallas, Peyton Royce, of course, Samoa Joe and Mickey James. I don't, because the article that I'm reading the list off of, I don't know if this is the last article or if there has been an update to it or not. So I'm not too sure. I think that was the majority of them that I remember.
That's it. They've not announced anybody else.
Right. So, I mean, like I said, Samoa Joe was the most surprising one, and I think even Casey had brought this up in the chat. We talked about it in the chat. Casey had kind of brought it up, and he was like, you know, they took Samoa Joe off commentary, making us think that they were gonna, you know, put him back into the ring, and then boom, he's released like the next day, and it's like, what? Why? Which, when we talked about it, Samoa Joe is another one of those guys that was just kind of, in a way, wasted time, wasted talent. But I don't know, like sometimes, and Casey, I'm sure feels completely different about this, but and maybe all of you do, but especially Casey because I already heard his opinion on it. But like for some of these guys, I think it's good to go to WWE and waste time a little bit. And I know that sounds weird. It sounds weird, but a lot of these guys, like that's a big paycheck that they're going to get that they weren't going to get otherwise. And I think that's good to jumpstart them for whatever their next step in their career is, wherever that may be, whether Samoa Joe goes back to Impact, where he goes to AEW. If he wants, because like now, I think if he wants to go to the Indies, he can go to the Indies and be comfortable.
Chelsea Green.
Impact.
Chelsea Green.
He's definitely going to Impact, by the way.
Yeah, go with Matt Cardona. Yeah.
But I mean, what are you guys' initial thoughts? Like I said, Samoa Joe surprised me. I don't know why. Like, he should have been world champion already. I know injuries hurt him and all that, but I mean, there's far more other people that you'll keep and are not reliable or not healthy. But then Samoa Joe, one of the best workers you got. Well, so nope. Why? Casey looks like he had something to say, so I want to go to him first.
I mean, first of all, just in general, because I've seen everybody talking about this. You know, from people on TikTok to YouTube to, you know, you name it. People have been talking about it. And I think, you know, what?
I said podcast TikTok coming soon.
Yeah, podcast TikTok coming soon. But you know, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, this happens every year. And people act surprised like they didn't see it coming every year. Yes, we don't know who's going to get released, but we know there's going to be a mass release because WWE does it every year. They don't necessarily need to, because I think I was reading, you know, they've been getting record, money coming in. So like they can afford to keep these people. It's just they don't want to spend the money. And as for, you know, Joe, you have to, you know, keep in mind that obviously in NXT, you know, Triple H runs the show there pretty much. And he knows these, like he understands these guys. He's probably seen some of their work in the indies or listens to people who have seen their work in the indies and takes their word for it. As soon as they get to the main roster, that's Vince and, you know, all of his, you know, cronies and shit. And they don't pay attention to NXT. They don't pay attention to the indies. So you could have one of the best workers in the world. If Vince doesn't understand the gimmick or doesn't feel it, it's not going to happen. You know? So unfortunately with a lot of these, I think that's the issue, is Vince just doesn't get it, or they don't have anything for them, right, which is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard.
I wanted to say too, and who was it? Adam, I think, before Casey came in and made a good point about that. But I wanted to say, it's funny, we were watching the documentary with Stone Cold on A&E, the biography, and some of the names that Vince sent him for potential names makes me really feel like, yeah, Vince was kind of dumb even back then. Like, I love him, of course, but like some of these names were like,
Chili
what?
McFreeze says, "I just whipped your ass."
and it was because Adam had said something about What was your point about Vince Russo that you were making before we went live?
What I was saying was that Vince Russo, again, this is going to be the Stu Griffin compliment sandwich. Vince Russo what he was very good at was tapping into somebody on the roster and giving them something that was worthy of being on TV, something for you to pay attention to. Everybody in each segment, it was an angle. It was something like, oh yeah, last week this, or the week before that. There was a little bit of a build where you could get behind somebody that would not be a main event type of name, but it was something that you were going to get interested in, or just saying like, I like this guy, but not for me. But you were at least paying attention and talking to somebody. The problem with that is that it was still, at that time, Austin and McMahon was the hottest thing. So everybody was tuning in for that, especially if it was coming back to the top of the hour at 9 o'clock when it was 2 hours. But then you had to hot shot everybody because he was trying to do blow off angles that wasn't leading to a pay-per-view. Because his was all angle and the matches didn't mean shit. And again, you have to marry the two segments. The story is what is going to drive it. The wrestling is the byproduct, but you can't toss the wrestling on your TV show. It's still a wrestling program. I'm not saying you have to have 30-minute Iron Man matches each Monday or Friday, Wednesday, whatever day of the week. But you have to still put emphasis on it. You still need that product, people that want to see actual wrestling. So, I mean, Vince was good at finding something for somebody each week, but he didn't have any long-term planning.
Right. Casey, were you finished with your point, or did you have something else you wanted to kind of bring up?
I don't know. You interrupted me, jerk.
My bad. Justin, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I mean, I'm not surprised, that they, released some people on it, but there's some people like I'm pretty sure we were all surprised about the Joe release because we all thought that he was going to be coming off, when they took him off commentary, go like, hey, he's finally getting back into the ring and stuff. But apparently, the doctors, they didn't want to clear him, or the WWE doctors didn't want to clear him or something. I mean, I'm surprised about the, whole Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. I'm surprised about that one, and Mickey James. But there's other things on here like Tucker. I mean, they had a little thing going, with when he broke up, with Otis and stuff. But they did that for like 1 week, and then that's all they did.
They never finished the story.
They never finished it.
Tucker turned, and then that was poof, it done.
And then Kalisto. I mean, I'm not really surprised about him. Bo Dallas, I mean, he hasn't been relevant for for many years here.
Since the B team, right?
I think so.
They haven't done anything with him since the B team, and I think he has hinted that he is not wrestling anymore. And of all those releases, I think he was the only one that requested to be released, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Now, like they do this every single year, like Casey said, it's like a big spring cleaning. But like, I don't understand why they hired these guys if they're not going to do anything with them. Like, because they're basically just hoarding talent at this point. They're hoarding talent at this point. They're like, oh yeah, you know what? Let's just take them before this other company gets them. Like, what's the point of that? I just don't understand it. But I wonder if what. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say part of it is they don't want other companies to have these people. They want to kind of hoard them. Also, they know a lot of these guys, their dream is to work for WWE. So they're going to take the contract anyway. Mm-hmm. Whether, they use them well or not, they're going to be able to say, hey, I work for WWE, or I was a WWE superstar. There's one person that I give credit to who didn't take the bait, so to speak, which is Ace Austin. I was at a seminar with him, and he was talking about it, how he had a tryout with WWE, Impact, and AEW. And, you know, he did everything perfectly. They loved him. And WWE was going to give all three basically gave him an offer. WWE was going to give him an offer. He chose not to go to WWE because he didn't think he was ready. He wanted to take more time and work in other promotions. I give him credit for that because, like I said, a lot of guys would just take that opportunity. Oh shit, WWE is giving me a chance. Oh, I'm going to jump on that.
Well, not only the opportunity, but the money, right?
Yeah.
Because some people, in my opinion, I think would take it for the money and get frustrated because they're not being used, but you're still getting the money.
But then you got to think about it, because if you're good enough, that offer is still going to be there.
Right.
And that's exactly what he said. He knows the offer is still going to be there in the future, and he'll be even better then. You know,
and hopefully WWE will be in a better place at the point when he comes in, instead of now where, you know, NXT is great at times, but then the main roster is in shambles at certain periods of time. Especially when it comes to guys of his stature and his size. As good as he works, of course he works. I love Ace Austin. I think he's one of my favorites right now.
Yeah, see, that's why it's kind of hard, like, because I know they do this like every single year when they're releasing people. That's why it's so hard for me to invest my time with like the main roster and stuff. Like, I love NXT and all that, but it's so hard for me to invest my time with like the main roster. Like, watch every single Monday Night Raw. I mean, SmackDown's I can stand to watch SmackDown and stuff, but like, if because if like you said, Casey, if Vince doesn't like him, or like if he doesn't get their character, doesn't get their gimmick, they're not going to be used correctly. And it's a shame, because a lot of these guys are talented, that we see down in NXT. Like, oh yeah, they're going to be successful on the main roster, but it just doesn't work out that way.
Well, I mean, and two, you see guys who go up to the main roster, have a decent little run. Like, even with Finn, his run was pretty decent. I think the fans liked him. They liked the demon thing. They liked the thing. I think they liked the thing he did with Bray. I'm trying to remember back then. But then, yeah. But at the same time, he gets brought down for being too Irish or whatever it was, whatever they said, whatever Vince said, and goes back down to NXT and elevates NXT. And it's like, he's obviously good, right? He's obviously really good. Mm-hmm. And of course, like, same thing with who was it that they said that Vince said was too Swift, Cesaro. Well, that's heritage. What do you expect? You signed him. When you signed him, you knew where he was from. You knew his background. Like,
I mean, did he look at Apollo and say, "You're not Nigerian enough, pal. We're just gonna go full-blood with a gimmick"?
This
is weird. Like,
but just the bare minimum of that. Does he have control over that? I am from Switzerland. I cannot help that, kind sir.
And it doesn't make sense, because the people who are naturally Swiss or Irish or Scottish or whatever, they want them to be less Scottish or Irish or Swedish or Japanese, whatever. And then people like Kofi Kingston and Apollo, out of nowhere, they're like, you know what? Can you be Jamaican? Can you be Nigerian?
But I tell you what, that sumbitch got that Jamaican accent over, and then completely forgot to do said accent, and Triple H called him on national TV, which was a great mistake, whatever. Because even Kofi was like, "Yeah, man."
That's funny. But I wonder if this year there'll be, because I remember last year what they did. When they released Drake Maverick, they had his whole video come out and stuff, and he was still during that cruiserweight tournament or something. I wonder if there'll be a wrestler kind of like this year that they kind of like that they release, but they like kind of like bring him back. I think I don't really see any names that they would do that with there. But do you guys think that would happen?
Yes, with Mojo Rawley to get his hype back.
Oh Lord.
In the words of Austin Powers, WWE lost their mojo.
Well, and like I was saying, I'm sure most, if not all of these, well, except for obviously, I think you said Bo kind of just stopped, has said he's not wrestling anymore. But the ones that are wrestling
in Florida,
but the ones that are wrestling, I'm sure at some point they're going to be in WWE, because in some cases going back to the indies is the best thing you can do. Look at guys like Drew. Look at guys like EC3. And then they dropped the ball with him. Anyway, that was a bad example. But some guys, that's what they need. They need to go back to the indies and, do their own thing in a way. Be their own, person. And then WWE sees, hey, we want that shiny toy back.
My thing is, too, I love the idea of we don't have anything for you.
Yeah,
that's what you do. That's why you're a writer.
Maybe hire better writers.
There's a team of writers, supposedly, right? There's supposed to be this team so we can find ideas and bounce them off of each other.
Instead of having so much writers, they should cut down writers. That should be what getting cut.
No, exactly. But here's the problem. Again, and this is where I'm going to start my little dissertation, because they've had this formula now for a very, very, very long time, where it's a committee of Hollywood writers, not bookers, Hollywood writers. Because once again, now, I think I mentioned it to you guys when this all started. Vince does not have to sell pay-per-views. All he has to do is sell the brand. Come look at our shiny toys here at our theme park, etc. It's not, you're going to want to see this pay-per-view coming up. It's not that. Again, he doesn't have to sweat it out because he doesn't have any pressure. So all of this is just filler. He has his one, maybe two guys that can kind of carry the load. He doesn't have whatever you guys want to say out there. He doesn't have a Cena. He doesn't have Brock. He doesn't have a Rock.
He does have a Stone Cold, yeah.
None of that. And that's the problem. Like, if you were actually, even if it is a television product, you still need those 5 or 6 core guys that you can work around. Who's my main event? Who's my semi-main? And who's going to really bolster my mid-card? Who's going to be that start of elevating? But in terms of, we don't have anything for you. And again, this is the other thing too. Guys, that's not Vince. That is the writers that can't formulate anything. But that's why Vince did not need to get rid of an Arn Anderson, did not need to get rid of a Dean Malenko. You need those guys that have actual wrestling minds, which is why I love the days where it was Bruce, Pat, Cornette, Russo. That's it. That's the list. Because Vince is good. He doesn't come up with the ideas. He knows how to just make that one small tweak. I mean, Justin, you and I were talking about the Jericho podcast. He was talking about, he took the mug and the shot
cups,
glass.
yeah, and he moved it. Goes like, oh,
here's this thing we're building, Vince. What do you think? I like that. But what about just this? Moves a little bit, but that's all it takes.
Boom. It's so much better.
Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Occam's razor. Simplest explanation tends to be the right one. But they're writing dialogue for people that don't actually talk that way. It's so robotic, but you do have those few guys out there. A Drew McIntyre, Adam Cole,
Roman Reigns.
It's Roman now. Roman now. Where it doesn't feel like it's, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy.
Or it doesn't feel like he's shoved down our throats.
Well, not even just that. It feels like it's still coming naturally. People say that The Rock is a great promo, and he is. Every single one of his promos were scripted by Frankel Wirtz, but he made it his own.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, DJ, in all of this, your job is to not build the house per se. Where can we start in the foundation? What can we do? And back in the day, my God, they used to do little nuanced things like at the Rumble or on a Raw, where they would kind of have guys cross-pollinate and see if they'd get a reaction. Ooh, there's your starting point. If you do that and there's no reaction, you don't do it. Don't force the issue. Tap into something that you can possibly build on and go from there.
Mm-hmm. And right now, during the pandemic, it's kind of hard, kind of go like, okay, since there's no fans that are live and stuff, it's kind of hard going like, okay, so how the fans respond to this? Even, I mean, we are responding to this, on Twitter and on different social media platforms, but like, you don't get those cheers you get in this audio from.
But that's why That's why from March of last year to currently it's a little different now that there is a little bit more tangible things of whether it's the piped in noise or whatever. That's why you needed promos. Me and Casey have beaten this subject to death for a year now. This was the time. Less wrestling, more promos to get me to care to watch these two wrestle in front of nobody. And not this whole, well, Lillian Garcia, this is what I'm going to like. No, you fucking look straight into that camera and say, whether you're addressing to the fans, the opponent, whatever. Magnum TA always said, you don't look at the camera, you're looking through the camera. To grasp whatever's on the other side of that camera to draw people in. Not this whole robotic, I'm trying to remember that line they gave me. How do I make this my own? Like that. Dude, it's live.
You're on live television,
it's live
bud.
TV, pal. You got to make it work.
Yeah.
And I saw a clip, and I think I shared that in the room. There was a clip of a Samoa Joe clip where I do hate this freaking recipe that they did for a while, which was guy starts in ring, he talks for 30 seconds, music hits, and he's talking, coming down to the ring. And then all of a sudden, the third guy comes down to the ring, blah, blah, blah.
And then the next guy comes down.
I know. And then the ring starts filling up. It's like Mustafa Ali, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, blah, blah, blah. And Samoa Joe comes out and just verbally paintbrushes everybody. It's like put your sorry ass to sleep. He maybe a little bit of a low blow, I don't care, but he took that jab at Jeff Hardy and goes like, try walking in a straight line, son, then you can start talking to me. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. From every name that was listed, Joe, if he wasn't allowed to be cleared for wrestling, let him be a trainer. Have him keep him in house so you can teach these guys how the fuck it's supposed to be done. Don't let him walk. Now, unless it comes out that he requested it, I have no problem with it. If he still wants to work, the guy can still work. One of the groups I was in bitched about that release. They were saying, like, but Rey Mysterio and Dominic still have a job. I'm like, Rey Mysterio and Dominic have had more matches recently than Samoa Joe has in 2 years.
I thought they were going to start. I thought they were going to do like a thing with Samoa Joe. Like it was like at the tail end of 2019. The whole thing with Seth Rollins and like the AOP when they took him when AOP like powerbombed it. Because I was there for that Monday Night Raw. I go like, yes, they're finally bringing Joe off of commentary. They're going to finally have him get back in the ring. But they did nothing with that.
No, it wrote itself. Yeah, you're a has-been, buddy. You've been succumbed to the booth. You're a puss, and you keep poking the bear until he's like, screw this, I'm taking the headphones off and I'm getting in the ring. It wrote itself, and they did nothing with it. He did get the stink on of him being injury prone, and this is even dating back to TNA, and he kind of went through that. He went through that ebb and flow thing. But I'm like, I'm always going to have a spot for a guy like that. And just in our last episode, you had mentioned, or one of our episodes, you had mentioned about him doing something with Roman Reigns. They were going to. He came out. They came out, and he came out and verbally abused him, and says like, "I'm going to put your ass to sleep." And the next time he was on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So great promo, and like, all right, good, SmackDown it is. I'm going to work with the top guy now. What the fuck?
Yeah, because that was the time when they were like, when Roman was like, "You ain't no Samoa Joe to me," or something like that. I remember that because I was so hyped for that.
I'm like, that's gonna be a barn burner. But and then again, like there's things they could have done with Bo. I think I said he saw the writing on the wall. There's nothing there. Yes, no, I'm not the biggest Billy Kay fan. I do like Peyton Royce. Here's the problem: them together worked. If you had nothing for them as singles, why did you break them up?
Yeah, see, like we were talking about with our WrestleMania review, it's like, why did you have, no, it wasn't Billy Kay. Was it Billy Kay or Peyton Royce? I can't remember. It was in a tag match. Yeah, why did they have Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, bring back the Iconics? I tell you what, I think they're going to go to the same place together. They're going to be tag teams again.
Well,
and I feel like, keep them as the Iconics, but get rid of that because they have like two eyes in their name. Just only have one eye in their name. That'd be great.
That's how they got the workaround with Taz. It was two Z's and ECW. Then they trimmed it down to one.
like the because
that could help out AEW. That could help out AEW's women's division.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Quite a bit.
What got me though was, they broke them up, which was stupid when I saw it. And then, like you said, you saw that you didn't have anything. You can put them back together. Because my thing was, they did that with the Riot Squad. They did that with the Riot Squad, and I care far less about the Riot Squad than I ever did about the Iconics.
And the Iconics would have been massive baby faces. Yeah, they were annoying, but you separated them. No, we didn't want to see them go away. Yes, they're back together. Again, wrote itself.
Well, because they really didn't, nobody turned on the other, did they? It wasn't like a bad...
They just broke them up.
It was the draft.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense.
You look like you had something on there.
I mean, I was going to talk about the promos like half an hour ago.
Well, you better butt in and start talking.
Let me tell you something, brother.
But y'all just talk. I'm here.
Hey, I had to wait till my time with Ready, okay? Jeez.
Your time is up. My time is now.
Your time is never. Don't get time. You get nothing. You get zero time. Zero.
Yes.
You get less time.
Yes.
You get less time than Frosty McWendy's over there.
Oh God.
If we didn't want some food, we wouldn't have ordered it, you stupid, ugly bitch.
We're talking about, using that time for promos and stuff, which is what they should have done, and get them to. You kind of need fans for this, but as soon as stuff starts to get back to normal, and if they have house shows again, I'm hoping they do at some point have house shows again. That is where you need to have these guys go out and cut promos in front of a crowd. Because it's not going on national TV, so if they fuck up, okay. But it gets them to be able to work in front of a crowd and be able to react to the crowd. And, perfect example. I'm putting myself over because I can do that. But no, Adam, you were watching one of my promos at a show, and so somebody from the crowd said something because the mic wasn't working well.
Talk louder. Shut up.
Yeah. Automatically, you have to be able to, and it's something as simple as that. If you're a heel, shut up. Or, I have the microphone. I'm louder than you will ever be. Like something simple. It doesn't have to be anything too complex. But these guys,
you grabbed him by the throat and then pulled him back in. And he goes like, "Well, if you can't hear me, you got to lean into it more, sir. Pay attention."
And they need that time to be able to learn to react to them, not in front of a full arena, but in front of a small VFW size place or wherever they used to do house shows, because they used to do some really small house shows and stuff like that. But you get to know how the crowd in general will react. If it goes downhill, you learn how to change it up. You learn how to listen to them. Is this getting over? No, I need to change it. I need to do something. I need to, and it helps you. Because one of the main things that I have an issue with watching promos is you need to make me believe what you're saying. Make me believe that you want to destroy your opponent or you hate each other or whatever. Because if I'm not hooked within 30 seconds, you didn't hook me. I'm looking on my phone. I'm talking to if it's at a live show, I'm talking to the person next to me. I'm going to the concession stand. I'm doing something because you didn't make me believe. You didn't hook me. And I think guys need practice doing that in front of a crowd. Some of these guys, like we said, some of these guys didn't come from the indies. Some of them were, athletes that came to the performance center, so they don't have that experience. And especially them, they need that experience to learn how to work in front of a crowd. And if they can't, crazy idea, give them a manager.
This is why they should have never gotten rid of OVW. Or I'm sorry, Johnny Ace should have never taken over OVW.
Well, and also
that got them a taste of being in front of a live crowd, not the WWF style, but just getting. I don't care if it's 100 people, you're getting a taste of it. Then you build up to that would be the equivalent of the number twos in the football team. You're that close. You're that close.
Well, it's almost better to learn in front of that indie crowd, that unpredictable indie crowd, because all in all, WWE crowds are pretty much the same. You can tell, how they're going to react. There's going to be a what chant. There's going to be this, that. There's going to be a CM Punk chant. There's going to be all this stuff. You kind of know. But you want to learn in front of the rowdy crowd that you don't know what to expect. You don't know what they're going to chant. You don't know what they're going to boo at. You don't know what they're going to pop at. Because indie crowds are a completely different breed. But also, again, with the releases, a lot of these guys, you can give them other roles. If you don't have anything for them in ring or as a wrestler, Joe, make him a trainer, like you said. Or, somebody that's good on the mic, make them a manager. Give them some sort of other role until you find something for them to do, You don't necessarily have to always release these guys. You can find other things for them to do.
I was thinking about the main event for WrestleMania 37, and one thing, as we, I guess, pivot here anyway, I've been hearing a lot of people frustrated that Bianca Belair showed emotion at the end of the match. I heard Disco Inferno talk about it, heard Cornette talk about it, heard Jim Cornette talk about it. And Jim Cornette talked about it in terms of, what did he say?
Let me interrupt really quick. Is this why we still want to punch him in the face until he bleeds?
Yes. But Disco is saying if two fighters are going against each other, it doesn't make sense. But this is different. This is not two fighters going against each other. That's a part of the story, is the emotion of the moment. Jim Cornette, I'm trying to get it back in my head to what he was saying. but before he even got to his dissertation about this shouldn't have been the main event because it was women.
He essentially said it's come to this. That's where he was his surmising, and it wasn't the work. And that's the thing with that drives me nuts about people that bash on Cornette. I'm like, actually listen to what he's saying. Now, again, he is very shock jockish. He's no different than Cowherd. He's no different than a Jim Rome or anything like that. He's going to tap into something, and when you get that amount of feedback on said topic, he's going to keep driving that. He's still going to keep driving that topic home. And I did not agree at all with what he was saying on that. But it was just
no, wait a minute. He basically said that you shouldn't show emotion because it's not real. He basically said that. He said his focus was on the money. He said if his guys would have won the titles, he would have been emotional but happy because of the money. He's upset that people actually care about what they're doing, which is opposite of what he actually says, because that's what he wants. He wants people to care about. Like, that's the thing. What he's saying is hypocritical. Right. What he's saying is completely opposite of what he actually believes.
Right.
Well, and you would think Cornette said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think with all the years that he's been in the business, he would understand, because it doesn't matter if you're, in your local, wrestling school run promotion or AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE. If you get a title, first of all, it's a huge honor, because that is that company trusting you with that title. That is that company saying, you're our guy or girl. You're the one we want, to be the face of, whatever division. So, of course, right there, it's going to be emotional. But especially if you get to the WWE and you've been a fan since you were a kid, and I don't know if Bianca's been a fan since she was a kid, but still, all the work that she's put into it, you're going to be emotional.
Well, and my thing is, too, like, it's not, my thing is she didn't break character by being emotional. It's right alongside her character. Now, when Raquel won and she was emotional, yes, I can understand people being frustrated by that because she is a heel. She should just hold the title up and get emotional after she walks through the curtain. Yes, I'm completely fine with that. But Bianca, who's the face, she's trying to be she's the ESC, she's trying to become the BES.
And you're on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. Like, you need to be emotional there. Like, I don't understand.
I gotta go back and listen to the whole thing, because as soon as he said it's come to this, I kind of tuned out, because I was like, ain't nothing that's gonna be polishing, other than it wasn't disingenuous. He goes, they did nothing in the match that was offensive. They took it seriously, like da da da. But I'd already kind of halfway tuned out, but I'm like, this was the fucking maybe best or second best match of the entire weekend.
Well, and also you go back and Shawn Michaels, whether he was a face or a heel, was always that cocky, arrogant character or gimmick, whatever. He still basically cried when he won his first WWE championship. So why is it okay for him to show emotion, but when she shows emotion, no, you can't do that? Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Right. And again, a lot of it too is, again, I would say that was 70% what he actually felt, and 30% of him taking it to the people that fight him on his views on women's wrestling.
Justin, what you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, you guys basically summed it up really good. I mean, I don't agree with the points he's saying.
Justin doesn't need to be here. We already got the point.
Well, no, I said it. Well, I said it at when we did the review. They closed the show because they were that fucking good.
Yes.
The attraction and the draw was there. Sasha finally. I mean, this is the one thing I will say that again to be that they didn't drive home that Sasha was a heel because. What I want in Sasha Banks is that NXT Brooklyn Sasha Banks against Bayley. The vicious bitch, she's stomping on her hurt, injured hand, all that stuff. Even in the Iron Man match, when she fucking threw Bayley into the LED board, goes back into the ring, is looking at the Bayley fan, looking at the crowd.
That is it, yeah.
This shit. I'm like, that's what I want. So again, it was just for the whole meaning of like, it's like I don't believe these women. It's just more like it's because she looks and goes, oh, I finally made it. This has always been my dream. Instead of really cinching onto that one thing that will get me to watch this match. But again, he loved the Rhea Ripley Charlotte match, but he goes, I would have never put that last, unless it was Rhea and Becky or Rhea and Ronda, something like that, or Charlotte and Ronda.
Wait, Rhea Ripley Charlotte. Do you mean the match from last year? The Mania match from last year?
He said he loved that match. He said at the time, I would have never put that last. But given the circumstances, there were no fans. He goes, that would have been suicide because if the match was as good, you've just killed Rhea. But putting it, I think that was that the main or semi-main of night one?
I think it was a semi-main of night one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, like and then today I was listening to a show from yesterday. He did kind of step it back a little bit. He goes like, I did not give them the proper praise, but he did use his inverted excuse of I was pissed off at the time because it was this match fell victim to the 80 other things that I was pissed off about. And I took it out on that match. But you go through his catalog of his views on women's wrestling the last couple of years, whatever, though, it kind of doesn't really polish it off. So, but like I said, they closed the show because they were that good. It's no different than talking about why Nitro beat Raw for 83 straight weeks. Because Nitro was the better fucking show. That match was the best match of that night, arguably of the weekend of the two nights.
Real quick, for like a last point, I do want to talk a little bit about the A&E biography series. I kind of want to just read off some of the because I have a list of guys who's on it, who they're going to be documenting, which I think is cool. So, of course, Steve Austin. I'm not sure if these are in order in terms of so next week will be Roddy Piper or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, next week is Roddy Piper.
So these are probably in order. So it's an 8-part series on A&E. Sundays at 8, I think it is, 8 Eastern. So Stone Cold was first. So that started tonight. Roddy Piper, Macho Man, Booker T, Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, Ultimate Warrior, and Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm excited for all of them. I was gonna be like, which one are you most excited for? And I'm kind of excited for Booker T. I've seen Booker T documentaries in the past, and I think Booker T is one of those guys who doesn't get as much love as I think he deserves. He wasn't that guy who was like this. He was a larger than life star, but he wasn't to the level of an Austin or Rock or something. But I think he always kind of had that potential. Of course, they missed some things with him, even in WWE. They missed some things with him. But I'm interested to see where they go with that one. Of course, Roddy's I'm excited about. Foley. Even with Warrior, I'm excited about all of them because I kind of want to hear what people say about Warrior. Bring in the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior and all the little controversies.
That was terrible. That self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior documentary, that made I'm happy that what's that other documentary that they came out with like a few years ago
Yeah,
for the Ultimate Warrior?
Again, it was right after he died. That they kind of did a redo of that because of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. Now, depending on who you believe and how whatever your viewpoint is, the self-destruction they always said was a hit job and this, that, and the other, and and blah blah blah. But in talking with everybody, there wasn't a lot of positive feedback. But it also, I think, it had to deal with who they were talking to. But beyond that, there's not a lot of glowing praise for him as a human being. And it's Jim Hellwig. The Ultimate Warrior is one of the most over characters that they've ever had. You cannot deny that. But in that documentary, I will say this, they have to tap into his controversial statements off camera and how he had a bad falling out with the company the three times he came back. You have to address that.
Yeah, there needs to be a Dark Side of the Ring on him, I think.
There is.
And some,
there is Dark Side?
Yeah, I think that on this season it's Pillman, Nick Cage, Grizzly Smith, which is going to be uncomfortable. I'm prepared, but I'm not prepared for that. Warrior and Dynamite.
Okay.
Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Grizzly Smith was a piece of shit. I'm going to just say that right now. Grizzly Smith was a raging piece of shit. There's a reason why Jake is the way he is. You can still make better life choices, but Grizzly is the focal point of it.
Yeah, I'm excited for all. Is anybody like excited about one more than the other, and anyone that peeks out to you?
Booker, because I've not heard nothing. Which is a pleasant thing. I've heard a little bit on Roddy, which I'm excited for because there's some certain aspects that I don't know about Roddy. Booker T, other than his criminal record, which is not an indictment thing, he's told his side of the story. He was justified. Well, make that too. But in terms of the actual guy, the actual man from Texas, I know nothing about. That's going to be a pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm. I think the one that I'm looking most forward to is the Shawn Michaels one because he's my favorite wrestler of all times. And, there's still some things, I know a lot of things about him as a wrestler and stuff, but him as more of like a, human being and stuff. I want to learn more about that with Shawn Michaels.
You ever watched, what was that documentary that he came out with him? Did you watch that? What was it called? I can't think of the name of it.
The WWE Michaels documentary.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I have
the WWE documentary on Shawn Michaels. I think it was called Heartbreak and Triumph.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, I have that on DVD, but like they gave me like the 1-disc set of that. I go like, so I didn't get the 3-disc version of that, but
I got the 3-discer.
Yeah. And also, I'm looking really forward to the Ultimate War one, just to see what people say about him and stuff, and after his passing and stuff, because that was one of the that was back in 2014, the night after Mania, like he was doing the promo in the ring, and like he was talking about like death and stuff, and like the next day, like that kind of broke me a little bit, like even though I never really had like much connection with Warrior and stuff. But like Warrior, like he drew so many people, like so I want to know more stuff about Warrior and see. Yeah, exactly.
And they get to go dive into him being the Dingo Warrior with Sting back in Mid-South, and how I can't think of his name because he trained a lot of guys that were quote the body guys. Brad Riggins, that's who it is, Brad Riggins, because I think he got him, those guys, Cena, maybe Brock in terms of putting the germ of possibly being a pro wrestler. I mean, Jerry Briscoe discovered him, but like I said, and I know it's A&E, especially now since if all these episodes are going to be 2 hours, you have to. I'm not saying you have to completely pull back the curtain because there's Dark Side of the Rings episodes that they didn't They didn't stick the landing. They dropped the ball on the Jimmy Snuka episode. I love it, but like they made the point that yes, Snuka was the deciding factor in Nancy Argentino's death, but they didn't say that like he definitively did the act. But because in the Mushnick, the guy that's really got the backlog of that whole story, they hardly talked to him. He was like sprinkled in a few scenes. I'm like, he has this whole goddamn catalog about that case, and they did not. They talked to the reporters that brought back up the case from Pennsylvania. They had it underneath their nose this entire time, but shit like that. In the Dynamite episode, the Grizzly episode, the Warrior episode, you gotta push those boundaries. You gotta push those buttons of. Thank God that Warrior and the company kind of mended fences. I mean, they have a goddamn award named after him now. And Dana comes out and does a great speech, and it's a fabulous, fabulous marriage. Kind of like the Jimmy V award for the ESPYs. But you have to dive into this is what happened that led up to them mending fences, because there is not a lot of glaring positive things about Jim Hellwig, the guy. Jim Ross, God bless him, buries him every chance he gets on his podcast. Said he was a pain in the ass. He nose up, looked down on people, whatever, though, and thought he was hot shit. Which is another reason why Meltzer drives me nuts when it comes to covering wrestlers. Ultimate Warrior was a high draw before he became a main eventer. He was a high draw for the company. But Meltzer openly acknowledged that he was the worst in-ring wrestler in the world. And he was. But the beauty of it is McMahon had great promotion knowledge that elevated him. So, yeah, I can't wait for those episodes. I just hope that they do it right.
I agree. And like it kind of gave me the last dance vibes a little bit, like the way they shot things. The DJ was saying it too, and I was like, when I saw Stone Cold standing in the chair and stuff, I was like, what, this does kind of give me some Last Dance vibes. I mean, it's not as much as like the Last Ride gets, because that was basically shots at the Last Dance and stuff. Because how many episodes did they do with like the Last Ride? Was it 8 episodes?
5.
It was 5. Yeah, but still, and it was on their own network and stuff. But.
Yeah. Again, it was definitely borrowed, but like I think I was telling you guys this before we hit record. That type of style has been done for a while now. It's just the guys that did. It's Jordan. You gotta go all the way. They did it the best to highlight him. So, and again, the more I think about it, especially when they were talking with Steve inside of his house, it did have that where they would go to the side far away and then do the close-ups. It did have that ESPN Last Dance ride, Last Dance vibe to it.
Last Dance ride.
Last Dance ride.
But I think the next thing we're going to do is or I don't know. I can't remember. I've mentioned it to some of you. I don't even remember if I mentioned it to Casey. But I think we were going to talk about the Jericho podcast with Austin. I think we wanted to talk about that. I don't remember if I even said that to Casey.
I'm gonna watch it. But as for the documentaries, I there's still a bunch of the Dark Side of the Rings that I still want to sit down and watch that I just haven't gotten to. But for me, I like and prefer documentaries that aren't made by WWE. I like the third party or however you want to say it, documentaries, because WWE documentaries are great, don't get me wrong, but they tell you what they want you to hear. They're not going to tell you, the truth of everything. They're not going to tell you the hard-hitting stuff. They're going to tell you what makes WWE look good. Whether it's the truth or not, they're going to tell you what WWE looks,
That's why I like Dark Side of the Ring so much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, what's even better, better on Dark Side of the Ring is that every single episode, to the point, is a human story. Even besides the subject at hand, it is always centralized on the people that were affected by this. Dino Bravo and his family, Nancy Argentino's sisters, Benoit, Vicky, Chavo, Chris,
And
everybody
seems like
else.
it's people like that you're not used to hearing from.
Correct.
Especially going back to Benoit, because of course, everybody's seen every story, every documentary that there's ever been, every every little thing. But like I don't ever remember hearing from Vicky. I think she even said that was the first time she spoke on it, on camera at least, was in a while at least, was in that documentary. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I love documentaries, and Dark Side of the Ring is definitely one of my favorites.
They need to give them each episode 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because there's so much things that they have to compress to meet that 45-minute time frame. But like, there's a reason why the Pillman episode is 2 hours. There's so much depth to him as a human. Even to the point you could do a 1 full hour of that episode just between the years of 96 up to his death, of him working the boys, getting three paychecks from every single company, getting a legal release from WCW, showing up in ECW, and at the same time negotiating with Vince for a contract. He is the most genius modern day mind up until his death. Again, that's what, 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Any final thoughts, anyone? One more.
It's going to be a weekly discussion. Weekly. We'll do it every week.
No, well, not only that, you mentioned Dark Side of the Ring. Like I said, I would love to do a retrospective of the past Dark Side of the Ring episodes. And not every single one, but I would say there's about 4 or 5 core popular episodes.
Right.
Benoit, Owen, and we'll see what happens with the new season. But Benoit, Owen, Bruiser Brody, maybe Snuka, but like I said, they dropped the ball on that. Whatever though, they didn't really go any deeper about the Savage story that nobody already knew, other than hearing Luger's side of the story, kind of being out there for the first time.
I still gotta watch that one. I don't think I ever got a chance to watch that one. Somehow,
I think that's the very first episode. And again, it's fine, but it's like a darker version of the WWE's version.
Right.
And they talk to Linda, and I just can't stand to look at her. She's just, she's a trip. But just in terms of like the Owen episode especially, didn't go on and on all day about that. And Benoit. I mean, me and Casey we've cross-examined. Your Honor, I'd like to address this to my client. I mean, because I am fascinated by that story, just from the simple again of that 3-day stretch, because face value, he probably did it. But there are certain elements of that case that does not make sense, that I can't definitively say he did it.
Well, and also, we can obviously talk about this in the retrospective whenever we do that. And it might end up being a 2-part retrospective, because, how we have no idea how long we'll talk about it. But I'm wondering, first of all, I don't know if we'll ever find out what really happened or the truth about things. But if we do, if something happens and we do, will that really change how people look at Benoit? Like, if it comes out and there's proof without a shadow of a doubt that he didn't do it and that something else happened, are people too far gone now on the hatred for Chris Benoit to see, to see the other side.
You're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, but some people, even some people say that, again, like I watched that whole documentary series about OJ. Fascinating. That's one of the best made documentaries I've ever seen, made in America. Do I think he's guilty? Be damn right, I think he's guilty. But how the cops, the forensic people, and all that shit, how they went about it, the credibility was in question. If they gave the suspicion of doubt, which all it took, once they attacked that, hell yeah, he should have been acquitted, because they broke the chain of protocol on how to cover up a case. But Casey, to your point, I would like to think that if people had an objective, open mind about that, if here's five definitive, indisputable things that causes Chris Benoit's, I shouldn't say innocence, because again, it's still a tragic thing. I will say that if it actually comes out that it was not from his hands, maybe. But there still could be people that were just saying, like, no way he did it, blah, blah, blah. Some people do have their mind made up about that weekend. But like I said,
well,
just
some people are going to have their mind made up
here and there
from the very beginning. Like even before they knew, like.
And I try to think of and this isn't condoning anything by any stretch of the imagination.
No, correct.
But thinking mindset, if he really was not, if it was not him mentally, it's for me, it's a gray area, because yes, if that's the case, yes, he did it. But if
it wasn't his brain, he wasn't thinking
exactly. If it, mentally, like I said, Adam and I have had discussions about this, and for example, a lot of our grandparents have Alzheimer's or anything like that. It's them, but they're not with it. They don't know what they're doing. Does that necessarily make them a bad person if they do something bad? If your grandparents are out of it, and like my grandmother used to turn on the stove and then walk away because she forgot what she was doing or didn't know what she was doing. If that caught the house on fire, is that her fault? Or is it, with her not being, mentally there? I kind of look at it that way, because again, I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, I don't want him to have done it, because I don't, but I don't want to trying to seem like I'm making excuses. I'm just trying to see every possible angle of everything, which I think a lot of people aren't doing.
Yes, and that's, you just said it on the head. What we're trying to do, we're trying to understand every side of the spectrum. Was this the act of a madman that snapped on his family? Or was this a mentally and physically drained, abused human being? Because one thing that is irrefutable, not disputable at all, Eddie's death ruined him. It destroyed him.
Yes.
There was something out there. Not to mention, the other thing that Bill Apter, of all people, brought this up. He said, when there is a tension and problems between the parents, one will just leave. They never kill the kid. That's the one. They made it like they said that he was this abusive father. It came out that he's just all of a sudden this abusive father to Daniel. What every human being on that episode said, he loved Daniel. You could see it in the home movies. He loved that boy. But that was not him. You had mentioned old people. their situation would turn into the place they would go into a store and then just start taking off their clothes. Irrational behavior. This was a 42, 43-year-old guy in great shape that had the brain of an 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient. And the other thing that is irrefutable, not disputable, because this was from Chris Nowinski. Anybody that examined his brain said this was
Did he have CTE?
No way, shape, or form roid rage. None at all. This was full-fledged CTE in the area of his brain that affected emotional behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right there for me, that's like 80% for me. I can't say definitively 100%, but that's, you know, and also, you know, I still feel bad for his son David.
Oh,
because
unfair.
To this day, David will still say that his dad is his hero. And he wanted to get it. He wanted to do what his dad did. And unfortunately, I think in a lot of situations, he was blackballed from the business for something that his dad potentially did or is assumed.
Society.
Yeah. And it's like, how can you do that to to someone's kid? Like,
proxy.
That's why I was hoping like Jericho would help him, in some way, because Jericho was on the documentary and was, talking with him. If he wanted to work, I would hope he would help him, because why should he be punished for something that he had no control over?
The other thing that I wish they would have, and this was by choice, they threw it in there just because I wish they would have drove it home more of why they didn't hear from Kevin Sullivan, which is the other miss that they did. But he said, I'm not going to talk about this unless I get the okay from Nancy's parents, because I love and respect them too much to just outward, and not to mention it's lose-lose in his situation. He's either could be talking bad about people that can't be here to defend themselves, or he's trying to take the heat off himself. So it's like, no matter what he does, he didn't have leg up at all in this situation. And Johnny Grunge, Johnny Grunge, there's a few other people that are no longer here to give that other perspective. David Pinzer is the only other one that I actually could give somewhat opinion on that last couple of years of his life, where they said they started noticing things, that something's not right. Something's not right with him. It almost seemed like he had a little bit of paranoia schizophrenia, because he would never take the same way. He would never take a certain route to something the same way twice, because he always felt like somebody was tracking him or something. Again, he was not. That was not Chris Benoit up in his head anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like you said, when Eddie died, something in him broke. Something in him snapped. And I wish, and of course they do too, but I wish somebody would have stepped up and, noticed these things and said, hey, we need to do something. We need to help Chris. We need to do something. And again, I'm sure that they wish they could go back and do that. But it's like, man, and now obviously, because of that, WWE has a lot more, protocol and shit like that. But it's like, why couldn't that have been there for Chris?
Right. It was this close of happening. He got in contact with Nowinski and said, how many concussions did you have before you quit? And Chris said, I had 6. And he asked Benoit, how many did you have? He goes, I more than I can count. And he was going to do a follow-up with him, and they never got a hold of each other again.
Yeah, definitely something that I think we should have to do, because that stuff always fascinates me. Not even just the Benoit story, but the Dahmer story. Anything like that. I'm always watching it and trying to like understand and get a feel for how everything, the process of everything. But nonetheless, we'll definitely have that coming up for you very soon as well. Next video we probably will do, if I'm not mistaken, will be probably the Broken Skull sessions with Jericho. Once we all finish it, I don't know who's all finished it. I haven't finished it yet, but
I finished it today.
I finished it.
Yeah, so Casey and I still got to finish it, so we'll do that. As always, as always, if you want to listen to us, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Also, if you want to watch us and you hate Facebook, go to YouTube. Hate YouTube, go to Facebook. Other than that, definitely. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, we'll see you guys on that next video, whatever that may be. This has been the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, an instant classic.